Mr. Salukifire. So where's the next best awesome place to live to switch it up and have another adventure?
I guess that's probably the topic of our podcast, right?
It could
Are
be.
you already recording?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really like this area, and if I get promoted to lieutenant, I'm not going to be too fond of leaving, and I really think that you'll like Music City, so obviously I vote here first, but I understand that would be a little unfair to ask you to take the hard route and you take the easy route, even though it's probably best for both of us to live here, because there's plenty of healthcare opportunity for you here as well.
What do you get paid if you're a lieutenant?
Do I? No, but you know how hard it is to be a lieutenant on any new department? If I move somewhere else and join that department, I won't be a lieutenant there for a long time.
Well, sure. I mean, how long have you lived in Nashville for?
3.5 years.
So, yeah, that's a long time to slug it out on the volunteer force. You
By
joined right away.
3.5 years, I mean 4.5 years.
Right, because you joined right away, didn't you?
I joined a year in, so I've been on the department. I'm on my 4th year on the department now. And even now, it just kind of like all the stars aligned because a lot of people moved away and stuff, and I just took over natural leadership positions as nobody else was there to lead. So
right.
It could have been the other way around, where all those if it wasn't so expensive to stay living in Franklin, all the people that have been on the squad for 10 plus years might not have moved out farther away where it was cheaper to buy a house. They could have been staying at the station and stuff, and keeping the same old.
Well, one thing Tennessee really has going for it is A, no state income tax, and B, the property taxes aren't ridiculous, are they?
No, we already discussed that, remember?
Yeah, so like compared to someplace like Illinois just blows my mind. Now they're at a 5%. They just increased their state income tax. So now they're at a 5% state income tax, and their property taxes are the second highest in the nation.
I mean, this is like my little gem because there's plenty of job opportunity, even though the companies here suck for IT. But outside of that, at least there's always job opportunities. It's got great weather because you don't have hot as balls, no rain summers. It rains here throughout the summertime. It's green all 3/4 of the year round. The fall is pretty long and prosperous. You got the mountains to the east, which are easy to get to. You got the hills in the middle Tennessee where I live. So even then, you kind of feel like there's plenty of outdoorsiness. It's not just flat cornfields everywhere.
Right.
A lot of small town USA out here that you get to go explore. It's growing, so a lot of good investment opportunities. More and more people are coming here, so it's kind of interesting to stay here and watch it grow as you see like things become bigger and bigger and bigger, and more companies are moving here, which mean more opportunities and so on and so forth. Live music everywhere you go. I mean, I haven't been to downtown in a long time, and I miss it, but still, I don't feel like I have to go downtown to get my fix. I'm fine with being in Franklin because it's still a big city. And that's also what makes it fun running the fire calls. Is I run fire calls for a big coverage area with plenty of people. There's plenty of things going on. I mean, we run 2,400 calls a year. So going somewhere else and either having it a pain in the ass to get out to the fire station because you live in the city and the only volunteer department is out in a rural area, and then you might get 100 or 200 calls a year, period. And they're always bullshit calls because there's never anything that goes on in that small area. I don't really want to do that again.
Yeah, like I imagine some of the Central Illinois forces didn't have all that much to do all the time.
Well, I had a lot of fun back home on the fire department because I grew up with those guys. And so the older guys, all the dads and the grown-ups and stuff I had fun with because I grew up around them. All the people that I went to high school with, I didn't even have fun with them because it was still the high school bullshit, like competing for who's going to be the next officer and who's better and who's more popular and, like having to fight for seats on a rig, that kind of shit.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, because we had one station, 80 members, and maybe 1 or 2 rigs would go out to a call, and so you got 12 people that can go. So, during those 100 calls a lot, sometimes you didn't even get to go to them. So it was just a lot of bullshit and not a lot of firefighting. Like, I'm so much of a better firefighter now, and that's why I'm like, it sucks being shorthanded, but hey, at least I get to go. I never have a problem with going.
Plus, you're driving the big rig now, right? Like, what other stuff are you not qualified to do?
Oh, I'm pretty much qualified to do anything except for non-aerial apparatus. So I can't drive the ladder truck. I can work off the ladder truck, and I don't mind doing that. I'm not that scared of heights, but I won't drive it, and I don't really have a desire to drive it anytime soon either.
But what do you desire to do?
Well, I really kind of want to get this lieutenant position. That's probably going to be given to me. I'm kind of a shoo-in for it.
Well, what's going on with your current lieutenant? Is he going to leave or something?
Well, he already did. So he took a leave of absence starting January through the end of June, and then he came back in July and said that he resigned his position. And in the process of that, we went from a station that had like 4 members to 2 stations that had like 12 members each. So that means our captain is probably going to open up 2 lieutenant positions because we have enough members at Station 12 and at Station 14. And since Josh and I got promoted to Tech 2 to drive Big Red, and we've been doing a lot of calls, and we're very experienced firefighters, and Josh is at 14 and I'm at 12, then it's kind of like we're a shoe-in for both of us being lieutenants. Plus, we complement each other because Josh has been a professional firefighter for 5 years for Brentwood, so he has more than the certificates. And I have more of the availability since I don't have a wife and kids. So.
Right. I give you props for rolling out of bed at 3 a.m. to run calls when you still got to go to do another 9 to 5. That's crazy.
It's hard, but Josh does it too. I mean, he's a stay-at-home dad now, so he's not a firefighter anymore. He's a stay-at-home dad. But he still has to take care of his wife and kids, so he doesn't always get quite the availability and responsibility that I can take on. But we made a promise to each other not to make ourselves go alone. So if 2 o'clock rolls around and it's a shitty call, but Josh is going, I'm going too, because I told him I won't make him go alone.
Yeah, Tennessee seems like it's got a lot going for it, like the growing economy and cool nightlife downtown, and the country music scene is all right.
It does, and I mean it's pretty right wing, so you don't have any issues with guns here. If people can own them, people can carry them. It's not too difficult to get one.
Yeah, is it open carry now, or what's the deal with that? You have to get concealed certified or something?
Well, there's plenty of places you can go to get a concealed carry permit, and then it's concealed carry law. There is no open carry here.
Remember when we went to Walmart there, like when I visited you, and that the gun salesman at Walmart was like, "We don't got Obama down here."
I know, right? Just hand me your driver's license. That's good enough for me. You don't need a FOID card and shit.
Yeah. Do you have a Tennessee driver's license? Good enough.
Right.
Illinois just got so much bureaucracy too. All those little things skimming money off the top. Get your FOID card. Get this. Get that. Because they've got like 200 something billion in pension liabilities that are unfunded. They're going to be in so much trouble in the future here.
I mean, the only thing that really kind of sucks is like the whole I hate to, I don't know how to put this, but like for instance, the strip clubs suck. So it's kind of like no sinning. Like you can't gamble, you can't go to strip clubs, that kind of stuff. Like they're really driving that all the way out of Tennessee and stuff. So that kind of sucks. But
that's the other thing. Yeah, they're very Bible-y, right? So it's the Bible Belt. We don't want too much of that, too much sinning going on.
Yeah, but even the people down here aren't all that bad because they're not from here. they move in from the north and they're not very religious. So you can kind of get away from that in general, but all their laws are going to be like that. But I mean, you have a lake here you can go boating on pretty easily. You have a whole river here that you can go boating on. You have plenty of little small rivers that you can go canoeing and kayaking. Down east of Chattanooga in the mountains, you could go whitewater rafting. I want to do that sometime.
I wonder about Florida, though. The summers, the really hot and humid summers in Florida would be a turnoff, but the rest of it seems pretty okay. Like cheap-ish real estate, lots of nice scenery.
I kind of like the Florida houses because they're kind of like Santa Fe houses, except for they all have pools in the backyard.
Yeah, the Spanish architecture is really cool. I like that. The pools in the backyard is awesome. Not too crazy about running into any gators, but I'm not sure how often that happens.
Yeah, I don't think it happens too often, but still, I don't know. I don't want to have to worry about that, and I don't want to have to worry about hurricanes and getting rained on every single fucking day. And Florida is pretty expensive with they're more expensive than Illinois for their property taxes.
What? No, that's not true. The only state more expensive than Illinois is New Jersey.
That's not true. My captain came from Florida, and he was telling me about how outrageous their property taxes were there. We're talking like 14 grand a year.
On how expensive of a house, though?
I don't know, probably a couple 100,000.
Median property tax in Florida is $1,773 per year for a home worth the median value of $182,000. So that's nothing. That guy was not correct, man. $2K for almost it'd be like $2K for a $200,000 house.
The thing I like about Tennessee is that it's easy to get up to Chicago if you want to go home, but it's also easy to get down to Florida if you want to go vacation too, because it's 7 to 8 hour drive either way. Well, 10 for you to get up to Chicago, but also nice easy access to Nashville Airport. They're going to be expanding it too, and Atlanta's close by too. So quick 30 to 45 minute flight to Atlanta if you want to go anywhere really major that Nashville doesn't offer.
Atlanta's got a pretty big international airport, don't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, so does Charlotte. So, like when I flew up to Boston, I flew through Charlotte on the way there, and it was only, 45 minute to an hour flight or something like that.
But that sucks that you still had to do layovers from Nashville. It would have been nice if you could just do nonstop to Boston.
Well, I could have. They do have flights like that, but just wasn't in the price range since I booked kind of last minute. And, the layovers were only like 45 minutes, so it's just kind of like nice because you get to stop and stretch your legs. So it doesn't matter. Like, I didn't need that extra hour and a half to 2 hours of being in Boston. It broke down my flight from a 4-hour flight to 2 hour and a half to 2 hour flights,
Yeah, I guess that's not bad. The only problem you run into is if you're delayed and then you miss your connection and then you're stuck somewhere for a while.
Yeah, but then, I mean, the airline's supposed to take care of you for the most part, and you get to check out the airport and stuff like that, so it's not all that bad. You get some extra time plugging in your phone on the chargers and shit.
Yeah, wander around, get some food, do some window shopping.
Watch some Netflix, whatever. You get to stretch your legs, and if you're not flying through the DC shithole of a airport, then you get to actually use the bathroom.
Yeah, what was the story with DC? I forget what you said.
It's just that the walkways in and out of the restrooms were so narrow that you couldn't even fit 2 people in there without luggage, let alone 2 people carrying luggage or rolling luggage behind them. And then you walk right in, and there's 4 stalls on your right. That's all. And then there's like 4 urinals past that. So you have like 8 gates. 8 to 10 gates with 2 restrooms that have maybe could accommodate 15 people at a time.
And then you got a do trying to get it in there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's bullshit. It's so bad.
Well, I guess it was not even bad doing layovers anywhere like that if you're going domestic, but it was really tough trying to get to St. Martin after they missed my connection, because there's only so many flights that go to St. Martin from so many other airports, so that was tough.
But man, Tennessee's so awesome being centrally located, because seriously, driving over east to the Smoky Mountains, or just you can make a long road trip and go to Norfolk over in Virginia Beach, or you can go down to Myrtle Beach, or Charleston or Savannah in South Carolina, or you could just go up to Kentucky and go up to Louisville. Louisville looked pretty cool when I drove through it the last couple times. I just never stopped there. You can go up there and watch some horse racing and shit. So I mean, it's pretty awesome being centrally located, really.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It is kind of nice to have equal striking distance to a lot of different stuff.
Well, because that's the biggest problem out where you are, is there's nothing else out there.
Yeah,
I think that's also kind of the bad thing about Texas too. So even if you're in Dallas, what's around Dallas? San Antonio has nothing. Austin has maybe some tech, but that's about it. And Houston's cool, but that's it. That's all you got to go to. Yeah, Nashville, you can drive down to Panama City Beach. You can go to Myrtle Beach. You could go to Virginia Beach. You can go up to Louisville. I mean, just wherever you want to go.
Yeah, there ain't too much near me. Denver's to the north, which people say really good things about that. I need to head up there sometime.
Yeah, I feel like Denver would be awesome. But see, I would like to have a vacation home in Denver or something. I don't want to live there permanently, but I would love to have a house to go up there in the real mountains.
I think the best way to balance that sort of thing is just to do an Airbnb, pretend you have the house for a little while and then forget about it.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't even have one house now, let alone two. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm 45 and single, and like I said, I'm gonna be awesome at it, then I'd rather have like a vacation house where I can like, go somewhere for a month or two and work from a different place and enjoy some mountains or wherever I want to enjoy.
I agree, man. Let's, lots of passive income so we can go anywhere, do anything, and not have to worry about money. That'd be awesome.
Right?
Have you ever done an Airbnb?
No.
I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. The idea of feeling like you can own that house, but I hear the owners can be there, and that would be a little awkward.
I don't think they're generally ever there though. I did hear someone told me a story about them going to Airbnb though, and they like saw some picture, like a strip of pictures, like there and stuff, and one of them was the girl topless, and they're like,
The owner?
yeah, like nice to have this just laying out on the dresser.
Find homes on Airbnb. Let's do some searches and see what we find. Where would we want to go?
Or where would we want to live before Airbnb?
It feels like your career choices take the number one seat for that, and then you worry more about the rest of it afterwards, like the location. It sort of seems like people are just taking steps to further their careers rather than worrying about the perfect location first.
Well, I mean, almost anywhere I go, I'm going to have a career there.
Yeah, you lucky computer people.
Not always so lucky, man. I mean, shit, the stuff I have to put up with, like, it's just, it's tedious bullshit that I should never have to put up with, like getting my teammates like taken away.
Just why did they take your why'd they take your guy away again?
I don't know. Who knows? he wrote shit code and probably had a problem with me rewriting it.
Well, I think you're going to be better off now. I think it'll be way easier.
I don't know. I hate having to justify my existence every single fucking day.
Well, they shouldn't have created a position for you if you're going to have to do that.
Well, no, because they all lie. So during the interview, they say, yeah, we're using the latest and greatest technology. Lie number one. Then they say, yeah, we write clean code. We like people who write clean code. That's lie number two. Yeah, there's never any conflicts here. We follow the Scrum process pretty well, and everybody here is generally really nice to each other. That's fucking lie number three. Like every day, there's always some kind of tension because someone's like trying to tell us that we're not doing things correctly and stuff like that. And then there's other people that are writing shit code, and when it comes down to it, like it's pushing me out the door either by getting fired or quitting. More so by getting fired, because I can tolerate this on a daily basis. I'll still put up a fight, but I can tolerate it enough to not quit. But what happens is they're probably going to end up firing me because I'm deemed hard to work with, because nobody wants to work with me, because I am sticking to the standards that were agreed upon the interview and hiring. And so what they really want is someone who they don't care how they write the code, because they never look at the code. They just want them to get things done like ahead of time and be a yes master person. So that way when business comes knocking down and says, hey, you fucking broke this, fix it now, they'll say, yes, master, and then they'll write shitty code to fix it, and then it will work for 2 weeks before that happens again.
I think all jobs want someone to say yes, master, though.
Well, especially software devs, man.
Yeah, okay, so this is one thing I've never been entirely clear on. Explain the Scrum work process to me. Like, give me your full understanding of Scrum.
Well, so back in the day, and Scrum isn't a new thing, but the traditional software development was a life cycle, right? Kind of like our human life cycle. Like you are born, you are a child, you go through adolescence, you're an adult, and stuff like that. And it was very you had to have the requirements before you started writing the software. You had to write the software before you start testing. You have to test it before you start delivering it to the end user, and you have to deliver it to the end user before you can provide support for it. And what happened is that people were doing big big chunks of that at a time. So they would do, okay, we have to have every requirement ever for this application before we start any code. Okay, we have to write all the code for this entire application before we start testing. Okay, now we have to test all of it and so on and so forth, right? So what they did was they say, well, let's be agile. So they come up with this Scrum methodology, which they say takes away waterfall, but it doesn't, because you still have to have requirements to be able to write software for it, or else what the fuck are you writing if you don't know what you're supposed to be writing software for? You still have to have software implemented before you can test it, or else what are you testing? Even test-driven development, you have to have an idea of the software you're going to write and the framework you're going to be using, or else you're not going to be able to write your test cases accurately for it. So they say it takes away waterfall, but it really doesn't. All it does is break it up into little itty-bitty waterfalls. So that means that you gather a few requirements, then you start building them immediately, then you start testing them immediately, so on and so forth, and then you go back and you start building again, and you just keep doing this just on shorter life cycles instead of one big, long life cycle. So instead of spending 2 years to write an entire app and then launch it out in public, you start writing the app from scratch, you launch it, you get feedback, then you add a little bit more to it, you launch it, you get feedback, you add a little bit more to it, you launch it, you get feedback. And so they're called sprints. So every 2 weeks we're supposed to deliver something. Now, there's a lot of things that can't get done in 2 weeks, especially when you have a lot of meetings or you're low on resources and stuff. But theoretically, you're supposed to have all the business requirements, all the software development done, all the testing, and all the deployment done within 2 weeks. Well, there's complications with that. One of them being, okay, what if you get all that done in less than 2 weeks? What do you do for the rest of the time? Because theoretically, you're not supposed to start on anything new, because if you start on something new within that sprint, it has to be delivered at the end of that sprint. So so a lot of people are like, okay, don't start development on something unless you know it can get through testing by the end of the sprint. Well, okay, so what do? Just sit on my ass for the rest of that time and waste company money? So, or what happens if it takes longer than 2 weeks to get through this? So the goal of Scrum is to be a guideline, but people make it like a concrete implementation. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and that's where it starts breaking apart. Okay, what happens if in the middle of the sprint something breaks in production and it interrupts this sprint? What do? So right, there's a lot of like these edge cases that come in and break your 2 week sprint, because 2 weeks is pretty short.
And also, like, who decides what the goal of your sprint is going to be?
Well, and that's another thing that's debatable, because there's somebody called the Scrum Master that's a part of the Scrum team that's supposed to facilitate the sprint, but everything's supposed to be decided by the Scrum team. So business doesn't say, I want this done. We tell business, these are the things that we can do, and this is how long it's going to take them based on our estimates, and then business gets to choose from like a menu, kind of like ordering food from Taco Bell. Like, they don't just get to go into Taco Bell and say, I want a hamburger. You say, we serve tacos, we serve burritos, and we serve nachos. Which do you want? They all cost differently, and then they get a pick from that menu, and then you build them that to their liking.
So the business owners are in charge of selecting the goals there, right? And the Scrum Master kind of helps them decide what's on the menu?
No, the Scrum Master is just kind of some bullshit thing that kind of keeps us adhering to Scrum principles. So they take care of people coming in and interrupting our sprint, and they facilitate meetings. So they set up planning meetings, they set up retrospective meetings, they set up demos, that kind of stuff. So they're kind of like a secretary.
So it looks like in this architecture, the product owner is at the top of the pyramid.
Well, that's because they're the ones that are supposed to decide what goes into the product. They're the ones that choose for the menu.
Yeah, they're the voice of the customer, it says here. I'm on the Wikipedia article. It's so interesting, because this is completely different than anything that we do in healthcare. It's
so interesting because no one can ever implement Scrum correctly. But that's because there's no concrete implementation for Scrum. It's a guideline, and everybody tries to. It's kind of like all these methodologies for coding. Like, it's a tool for your toolbox. It doesn't, like, just because you have a hammer in your toolbox doesn't mean that everything that you work on has to need a hammer.
Right. It's total buzzword actions.
So yeah, it's just what they say. When you have a hammer, now everything's a nail.
We have Scrum. Now everything must adhere strictly to Scrum.
Exactly, and that's like the first bad thing about all these companies is that they just say, yeah, everybody else is doing Scrum, so we're doing Scrum too.
Right, and wasn't that the problem with the original software development model? That it was so rigid and inflexible that it was ineffective?
Well, the problem that Scrum solves is that it doesn't take so long to get something out there. So even if it's not perfect, at least get it out there and in front of someone and get feedback. So it's quicker iterations. But however, one of the issues with that is that it comes at a sacrifice. I've never seen a business requirements document at this company at all. So we're kind of going from word of mouth a lot. Like someone says that they want this, so we say, okay, we're going to build this. Nobody writes anything down, and then when it comes down to whether it's broken or not, it's all he said, she said shit.
Are they supposed to be logging the goals and the assignments that they put you on? That sounds like they should be accountable for putting the teams to work on something.
We have BAs, but they operate more like POs, and they don't do anything. So,
wait, break those down for the layman. I don't know what those stand for.
Well, BAs are business analysts, so they're supposed to be doing our requirements gathering and stuff based on what the PO says that they want. So they're supposed to coordinate with the PO. The PO says business wants this, and the BA says, okay, well, I don't know anything about code, but I know something about technology in general, so let me take what the business wants from you and let me write down in layman's terms in general technology how to achieve that for the software developer. So that's when they say things like user logs into system, user clicks a button that takes them to this screen, the user will sort through these columns on the grid, stuff like that. They're just general things. And then we say, okay, we need to implement sorting, we need to implement authentication for the login, that kind of stuff. So they come up with like the user stories. What does this accomplish? They come up, they facilitate the test cases even. So they work with QA to come up with test cases. Okay, well, what do we need to test? Well, we need to test login being successful. We need to test login failing. We need to test the user being able to access that page, the user not accessing that page. We need to test sorting ascending and descending and sorting failure. So, like that kind of stuff. But nobody does any of that. It's all like we do our own thing, and then we just try and make it work. Like everybody's there to hold meetings in a secretarial role, and we as software developers do all the work. It is so bad, we even come up with the test cases for QA because they can't even fucking understand what the business needs are or anything general about the technology systems that we're using to come up with test cases. If there's one thing in Nashville that's worse than people getting handed senior titles in software development out for nothing, it's people in QA that know even less than junior developers as far as technology. QA has to know something about technology. They have to be a little bit self-sufficient. They have to be able to think of test cases to come up with, like, what happens in a network failure, or what happens if I type in this type of URL or this type of URL or something like that. They have to be able to try and, like, from a high level, debug things to tell us, okay, it worked in this situation, it didn't work in this situation, I tried to change this to see if it worked here, and that didn't work either. Give us more information. Don't just say, yeah, I went through your steps, I clicked button X, Y, and Z, and it broke somewhere. It's like, well, shit, that's the stuff that I tested before I fucking deployed it.
Plus, isn't that the whole point of Scrum, too? Like, if you're not getting good feedback on QA and stuff, like, you're going to be putting out as much as you can due to your sprints, and then if you're not getting adequate feedback on how to fix stuff, the process is going to break down.
Well, not only that, but we're supposed to be doing unit testing so that we can, like, pretty much just take away QA, so that they're supposed to be, like, actually doing any, like, button clicks and stuff like a user, and we're supposed to be writing code that does all the other stuff to automate that so that they don't get bored. So literally everything is on the software developer to do everything.
And let's see what the Scrum Master is supposed to be doing.
The other thing about Scrum is that everybody's supposed to kind of be equal. Like, I'm supposed to not be people aren't supposed to have titles, because that's what adheres to waterfall. If I'm a developer and you're a QA, then that means now we're back to waterfall, because I have to develop something before you can test it. What it's supposed to be is I can be a developer capacity or a QA capacity. You can be a developer capacity or a QA capacity, and what we do is we get this thing done together. You know, if it needs to be tested, one of us will test it because one of us has the availability to do so. So we put on our QA hat to test it. If it needs more development work because it's something that's development heavy and not test heavy, then both of us will develop it. And you know, that's the other thing that breaks down a lot in Scrum is that they hire people for specific positions, and then that goes right back into that waterfall where now this person is dependent on me.
Right, and if they're all supposed to be as educated as you or as knowledgeable on a whole bunch of different things, that how are they going to fill those roles? That seems tough.
Well, they can't even fill their own role. I mean, I don't even think that they have to know about code itself. Just know something general about websites or web development or something, you know. Like, damn, I'm tired of having to do everybody's work for them. If I have to tell you everything about it, then why are you even doing that work?
Yeah, that takes away from what you're supposed to be doing, doesn't it? If you're remedially educating someone on what they need to know.
Yes, well, it takes away from them being independent because now they're going to test everything that I just told them to test, which is everything that I just tested. So they're not breaking my stuff. They're not thinking of other cases. They're just doing what I tell them, and I'm going to tell them how it passes so it can go into production.
Daily Scrum.
And nobody ever throws QA under the bus. Nobody ever says, "This is broken in production. Why didn't we catch this in QA?" They say, "Why wasn't it developed correctly?" It's immediately back to the developers because they know that the developers are the ones that do everything and are capable of doing everything.
How is QA paid compared to the dev?
Sometimes similar. I bet QA is probably somewhere between 60 and 80.
So you're going to go ahead and get me a QA position, right?
Sure, if you want to sit there and be bored all day and click buttons and shit.
Dude, I would do horrible things to be able to be bored at work.
Dude, I think you would make a great QA because I think you at least have a general level of intelligence to be able to think of stuff. You know, I mean, half of QA is just asking questions. Like, if you don't understand it, ask questions. Well, how does this work? Well, you know, what are some of the bad things about this? What are some of the good things about this? I mean, they don't ever ask anything ever.
Did I tell? Well, I've been an end user for some pretty expensive healthcare software too. And did I tell you one time my tech assistant put in like a double backslash in one of the input lines and it broke the code?
Yep. And you probably figured out it's because of a double backslash, where QA would have been like, "I don't know what happened. It showed me this error screen."
Well, yeah, that's what she said. She was like, "Hey, I put this in, and all of a sudden the screen looks bad, and there was a lot of code there, and it was some kind of XLR script or something, I guess. I don't know what the language was, but yeah, I could see a lot of code being displayed on the screen, and it was because in her input field she put a double backslash." That'd be awesome, man. I'm applying to be a QA tester right now. I can't wait to throw you under the bus.
Well, I can recommend you if you want to work for this company.
Actually, what kind of education sort of stuff do you need to do? Like, what do these QA testers have? Do they have bachelors in computer sciences or an associate's or any certifications in any languages or scripts or anything?
Well, I definitely know they don't have any certifications in any languages or scripts. I think if they're Indian, they probably at least have a minimum of an equivalent of an associate's degree in general technology. I think if they're American, then they probably don't even have a degree at all, but have some prior experience in a test capacity because they started somewhere in support or on the ground floor or whatever. I think for you, your experience in healthcare using the technology would be sufficient, and your ability to just generally understand technology.
Dude, I get so pissed off sometimes too when the scripts hang up or when there are software conflicts, especially on the scanner itself. When it freezes or it encounters critical errors, it's really unfortunate because it costs us a lot of time.
Yep.
But that being said, like, what are the QA people supposed to do to break the script or to discover errors? Do they get only a user interface, or do they have access to any kind of code, or how does that work?
Well, we build them everything. they can't do anything on their own. So like right now, like one of the things that we're building is a test page for them to test whatever we're building because they can't go in and do it on their own.
Right, because I'm assuming you make some kind of executable, and then there will be a front end. I don't know the lingo. There's the front end. That's probably what they're working with, correct? And then the back end is all stuff that you guys do.
Yeah. Now the good testers, they'll be able to go into the back end and mock up their own data and stuff. That's like the most important thing that they can do is create their own data, or at least look at the data and interpret it to find out if there's something wrong, what went wrong, how it went wrong, when it went wrong, that kind of stuff. So we've had good testers from India that are very tech savvy that would be able to pick that stuff up, but none of the American testers really do that. They're very few and far between.
It's really funny because the American testers probably get paid so much more, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Cost of living and that whole kind of thing.
No, it's just because it's what people pay in America.
Dude, I could make 80,000 to sit on Tinder all day. That sounds amazing.
Well, you'll get yelled at for that.
Nah, they'll never catch me alive.
Well, they caught me alive.
Oh, that's too fucking funny. So what other industries use Scrum? It looks like just software
All of them.
development.
Scrum is not just for software development. It's a guideline for general management. It's a management strategy. You could be managing software. You could be managing people at McDonald's. You could be managing healthcare, whatever.
From what I'm reading here, it seems like they're applying this a lot to agile software development.
Yes, that is true. 99% of the time it's with software, but it doesn't have to be.
It's not applicable to Taco Bell. We are going to put the food together. We're going to get customer orders. Someone's going to assemble the food online, and we'll ring it up and give it to them. Like it's not conducive to Scrum like sprints and stuff. Although you technically are sprinting when there's a lot of orders, but the process is the same.
It could definitely be applied to Taco Bell. So if I were the manager, I would be the Scrum Master, and when I have crew members come in, I would say, okay, all you crew members are equal. I need someone at the cashier register, I need someone in the drive-thru, and I need someone making food. And then I'd say, okay, we're going to do a sprint for the morning shift. So during this sprint, you're going to be on the cash register, you're going to be making food, and you're going to be doing this. And then when that sprint's over, this is how we're going to change up the game.
Yeah, but you're not going to change up the game to anything different. The roles will still all be the same every day. The people doing it might be different, but it'll be the same roles.
But that's the same with software development. You always have the same shit. You always have you always have requirements, development, testing, support, all that stuff. But it's just whatever needs to be done at that time, you be agile about it. So whenever the lunch rush kicks in, okay, I need one person to, okay, we have a line of customers out the door and we don't have enough orders on the screen. So I need someone to go off of the food making line and go take a second cash register up front.
But is that really Scrum, or is that just being flexible?
It's being agile.
Okay, well, potato in this case, flexible and agile, I consider to be closely related.
But that's what Scrum achieves is agility. It's okay, you provide feedback, so you now mix up your game plan to do that with the team that you have.
Ah, okay, I get it. Yeah, just so people aren't like rigidly working in one role that's not actually even necessary.
Exactly. Everybody's supposed to be able to fill every single role that Scrum team is supposed to do, but we can't. We have people that only know how to do the cash register and only know how to make food. And so then when you need another person up on the cash register, the person that only knows how to make food can't fill that position. And so what does that do? That means that the cash register's person is just fucked. And that's the software developer. QA sits back there, sitting on their ass, waiting for us to get something developed, while we're sitting there struggling to get shit done on time because people are coming to us with other things.
Well, then your QA people need to be pushed into some other role to be more effective.
No shit.
That's why I want to be one of them, dude. So I can Tinder while you fucking software devs work your asses off all day and get nothing done.
I mean, seriously, our QA person, she's cool and all, but I mean, she definitely does not do as much work as we do. I mean, she doesn't even have to do all the extra work like study. We're like, okay, we're using this technology to build this, so, well, I've never used that technology before, so I have to learn it. Nope, that never happens with QA.
They're not forced to do any continuing education or learn anything new?
None of their shit. No, it's all the same. They know how to click buttons.
But why aren't they required to keep learning about stuff? That's kind of crazy.
Because they are not required to know anything about the technology. That's what I'm saying. That's what's stupid. They should know more about the technology and stuff. They should know more about how general things work, but they don't. They're never required to. Honestly, I think our QA should be the one that learns how to write unit test cases. They should be writing code that does the testing for our system. I would rather have a QA developer than a QA tester. I'd rather have someone that goes in there, looks at the data, and says, okay, I need to write these test cases, and then can write all those test cases for us. And then we'll write the application code that meets those test case requirements. But nope, we have to do both. And so I have to be an expert at everything. I have to be an expert at unit testing, which sucks. I have to be an expert at documentation, because I have to document how this thing works, because nobody documented how it should work to begin with. I have to be an expert at writing the code.
Yeah, but for the QA person to do what you were just asking, would that have required them to actually have a CS degree like you?
No, anybody can learn how to code.
Yeah, I mean, there are online coding courses. Not necessarily the kind of thing that you need a bachelor's degree to go do.
I mean, I'll even accept where they don't even know the code. They can just write down the unit test cases. They don't have to be technical test cases. They don't have to check whether like a null reference exception or something like that. They just have to check the business requirements. I would be happy with that. Then we can say, okay, they need. So instead of saying, oh, we need to check if this object is null or not, they could just say, we need to check if this object can be converted to an integer, or we need to check if this object got populated by the database, or stuff like that. Just general, like, okay, the business needs a user object. When you log in, the user object has to come from the database. So we need a test case that checks that when someone logs in, that this user object is populated with data. Then we could say, okay, well, we know how to write that in code. We'll write that part in code if they can at least come up with the ideas of what to unit test. But theoretically, they should actually learn some code so they can actually write that.
Or at least to be able to communicate to you more effectively what they need, yeah.
No, I mean, it would really be a lot helpful and a lot more beneficial in software all together if QA wrote code with us.
Nope, I prefer to sit on my ass and make 80K while you guys get yelled at. That'll be good.
Yep. Here, let's check Glassdoor.
What is that, a job site?
Yeah. So salaries, job title, QA, Franklin, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee average is 51,000. It's probably higher than that, but...
What's the educational requirements or experience?
Let's see. Here's Emid's QA analyst, 68,773 per year. Assurian QA analyst 1, 49,000. DaVita senior QA analyst 79 to 90,000. Deloitte QA analyst 63 to 93,000. Alpha Insurance, I think that's what's on the second floor of ours. Let's see.
Are there job postings listed here on Glassdoor.com? Never used this site before.
Yeah, there are. Let's see. QA program manager, Wayne, Pennsylvania. Here, let's look at jobs. QA. Evicor Healthcare, QA lead. QA analyst, Vaco, they're a recruiting firm. And HealthStream is looking for a lot of QA. United Health Group, senior QA auditor, risk adjustment.
MRI technologists in Chattanooga, Tennessee make significantly less than the national area. That sucks, or the national average.
3+ years of experience in playing a QA lead role in data analytics and BI projects. Intermediate to advanced SQL skills. See, all this is what they require, but fucking nobody has this. Experience with agile development a plus.
Well, I worked at Taco Bell. I've got experience with that.
Yep. Develop, coordinate, and execute detailed QA and UAT test plans, data, cases for user acceptance testing based on the company's agile methodology standards. Actually, that should be regardless of the fucking agile methodology, but whatever. Develop, maintain, automation testing. Uphold SDLC testing standards and methodologies. So all these are just fucking buzzwords. There's no such thing as uphold SDLC testing standards and methodologies. Maintain
What is
the
that? SDLC?
software development lifecycle. That's where you have requirements gathering, software development, testing, delivery, support.
Doesn't exist.
Participate in the company's software development efforts as defined by the SDLC. Bullshit. Yeah, it's defined by the SDLC. You click buttons. You're not actually participating in the software development effort at all. Prepare training materials. Never seen a QA do that. Conduct user training and maintain system documentation. Never seen that.
Get your estimate. Discover if you are being paid the right amount. Know your worth.
Proficiency writing SQL. I'd like to see a QA that knows how to write SQL.
Well, that's what you're asking for, though, right?
Yes, but it's all bullshit. None of these people meet those.
What I want to know is what it takes to start a business that has software development or has a product. Like, you know, the story of how these companies get started. You never see that as the average person.
No, not at all. I mean, it all gets started by somebody knowing somebody else, because I could write the software for an idea. I could come up with an idea for writing the software, but how do we get people to pay us for it? No one's, even if we're cheap, no one's going to want to go with like some small company.
Yeah, is that where angel investors come in, or you actually go and try to find private investors to raise money, and then from there try to market the software somehow? Like that's the side of it that we never learn when we're just employees.
But you can't market the software when you don't have anybody actually using it.
Well, you can try to sell it, like that's part of marketing and sales. Like, hey, we're creating this new software that'll log X, Y, or Z. It might be of use to your company. Do you want to check it out? Hey, let's give you a sales pitch. That's where the sales comes in.
I don't know. I don't think anybody builds something from complete scratch. It's always they know someone that knows someone. They either use contacts that they built from a previous position, which they're not supposed to, or something else, you know?
Well, like in the case of K. Kira, that guy knew there was a need for e-discovery software, and I think he created the first iteration himself, and he must have marketed it somehow.
Yeah, he probably knew someone that would pass him some free money to try it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a lot of startup businesses are as a result of investors. You raise capital from
No, I'm not
somewhere.
talking about investors. I'm saying, so if we wanted to do something like we wanted to build software that does authorizations, real-time authorizations, the fastest, best authorization system that you could do, we would know someone in a hospital that just had $50K laying around that would want to subscribe to our shitty service for a year and not ever expect it to work, but just out of their goodwill of, hey, this guy knows me, so he's gonna, you know, be the first person to try this.
But that can't always be the case. A lot of these startups have some. They do a pitch and then they raise capital and then they do the software development from there. But a lot of it probably is guerrilla warfare style, like where you start your own company and you're the one who does the code for a while. Like you slug it out on your own time before you actually get something that's decently functional.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it always comes down to who'd want to invest in my company when there's other companies already doing it.
Well, I think
like Mr. Wonderful says, the big companies will just come and squash you like a bug.
They certainly could. But even if you let's say you get something that is useful for a big company, if they buy out your idea, then you get a big payday right there, huh?
Well, sure.
So that sounds good. But some of these tech startups like Snapchat and Twitter
But those are new ideas.
Right. Well, a new idea would be helpful, but even that, I think some of this stuff has got to be overvalued nowadays.
Well, definitely.
because there's so much hype surrounding it. And how about Tesla Motors? Even their market cap is higher than the big automotive companies that have been around forever, and they sell a fraction of the units that the other car manufacturers do.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's why I'm not into making a business for life. I'm into making a business to sell it, or just to make a brand.
Right? Yeah, I think that the guys who make their little startup business and then they just sell it off and take their payday while they can. There's something smart about that.
I mean, there's tons of things that I mean, I've seen endless shitty applications in the healthcare industry. All you have to do is if you know how to if you know how to understand HL7 and X12. I think it's X12. If I can't even remember. Then you're good. Just start trying to get some data from some healthcare providers, some small providers even, like the one that you're working with right now. Say, hey, my buddy has a system that if we send him data, he'll be able to do this for us with it or something.
Well, you have to be careful with that kind of thing specifically because healthcare information is protected. But that being said, I've worked with some decently crappy health information systems. I showed you the one that I'm using now, Meta Informatics. It seems pretty like bargain basement, like somebody just made it in their garage.
Yep.
Someone who had some knowledge of database management, and it just populates patient name, date of birth, MRN, and just various documents that are assigned to that patient, just digitized paperwork.
Yep, that's all it is. I mean, nothing in the healthcare industry is even awesome. It's all shitty. It's all okay. A patient came into the hospital, stick them in the patient's table in the database.
Yeah, they just get thrown into a database, and that database needs to be able to cooperate with a couple other systems. But for the most part, there's nothing crazy going on there. But they make top dollar for it.
Yep. And as a patient, you don't know how many databases your information's in either. So when, let's say, Experian gets hacked, you don't even know if Experian has software that's been processing your healthcare data for your providers, your insurance companies, or anything. So you don't even know if your information got leaked. But a lot of this other things too, there's a lot of opportunity for, if we have the staff to do it, we can create an application that our own staff would use. A lot of people are doing that in the healthcare industry. That's how they're getting their foot in the door. They're saying, hey, we have these people that will come in and speak to the patients and provide them advice on X, Y, and Z. And they'll take the patient information from the patient themselves instead of from the hospital, at first, and put that into the system and offer advice. It's like consultants. So that's what we do. We have care clinicians that phone call our patients. They used to visit them door to door and shit, but then we got more and more patients and too costly to have people go out all the time. So now we just call them and we say, okay, where are you located? How long you've been there? How are you feeling? Have you taken your medicine? All that bullshit. Everything's a survey, and everything's just tracking where you've been, how long you've been there, and what happened when you were there.
Speaking of that, Hyundai of America sent me a survey that I still need to fill out regarding their automotive service, and I can't wait to bitch up and down about the fact that their dealership, the service departments, aren't open on Saturdays.
What about Sundays?
Of course not. It's a car dealership, but yeah, like at least in Northern Illinois, the Hyundai dealerships have the service departments open on Saturday. So if I need some Hyundai specific service done, I could at least have gone on a Saturday.
Yep, that's how it is here.
Are they open on Saturdays or no?
Yeah, I mean, sales and everything's open on Saturdays.
God, that's so annoying. I guess maybe it's just a New Mexico thing or just Santa Fe.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I'm looking at the website for the health information system that we use at my work. God, it's nothing but buzzwords. For use across the continuum of today's healthcare. Service and engagement, customization, scalability, technical service, online community and client advisory boards, annual summit, sales to implementation to support teams that understand no two
And a lot of
practices
that's
are
like
alike.
bullshit too. They'll say like, yeah, we have a vast online community. What do they have? A forum that nobody uses.
Award-winning solutions tailored to meet the unique specifications of our clients. Powerful functionality. Streamlined ongoing product enhancements. God, give me some more buzzwords.
Oh, that's so bad.
It kills me, dude. These software developers, they just sit in their little Scrum workshops and just buzzword their faces off.
It's all just validating our existence, bro. And everybody keeps telling me, they're like, just leave Navi Health. There's plenty of jobs out there. I'm like, no, man. Like, I'm tired of jumping around, and not everywhere is gonna want to pay me the same. Like, I know I could always make over 90K anywhere I go, but I don't want to take any pay cut.
Navi Health. Let me look at this website. Industry solutions, essential insights. About. Contact us.
What, are you on? You're on Navi Health's website?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look at their buzzwords for a while.
Is it .us or .com?
.us. Well, that's the one I'm on.
Well, because they're switching over.
Clinical support, scalable technologies, advisory solutions. We analyze data to discover patterns and optimize workflows, strategic clinical insight into care design.
Man, one of the things that like they're doing now is like they're splitting up our application into a million pieces and calling them each individually something else, but really only one thing makes the money in this whole entire organization. That's care management, or now called NH Coordinate. Now everything's like NH discharge, NH intake, like those aren't separate products. All those do is just are a piece of getting information from patients and putting it into NH Coordinate, which actually like earns the money. Everything revolves around that application, and that application's so small and shitty.
There's a patient section on the website too. I wonder what's on there.
A patient section.
Yeah. But it's.
Oh.
I guess this is when a patient has been post-hospitalization and they get surveyed or whatever, or someone from Navi Health talks to them to follow up on their care. Is that the kind of thing that happens?
Yeah.
I was hoping there would be a part where I could just send my thoughts to them to be like, yeah, I was just in the hospital at Vanderbilt and they left my enema in place and they sent me home with it. What do I do?
They'll be like, well, we don't know. We don't handle that, so you need to contact the hospital. But when you get there, let us know, and we'll put you in our system that you started your treatment there.
I would say that's not very helpful. You should tell me how to get this enema out of my butt.
I mean, I don't even think we need nurses that do our that need to be a part of our care team. Our care teams just ask them survey questions. Okay, what's your name? What's your age? What were you diagnosed with? What was your treatment? How long were you in the hospital? Do you need a post-acute care facility? If so, we'll recommend one to you.
Why don't I do the Hyundai survey right here during the podcast? Let's go to the survey and tell Hyundai what we think.
Well, I don't think anything about Hyundai because I don't use them.
We've noticed that you have not used a Hyundai/Genesis dealership during the past 12 months for routine maintenance.
Probably because they're not open on Saturdays.
You are a valued Hyundai customer. We want to hear your feedback. We would like to ask you a few brief questions to better serve you in the future. Begin survey. Which of the most recent non-dealer services did you use? I went to Jiffy Lube. Indicate any of the following actions that would cause you to return to Brian Bemis Hyundai for service work in the future.
Extend your fucking service hours.
Well, this is the one that I bought it from, so the fact that I live like 1,700 miles away is a big impediment.
Wouldn't be a problem if they're open on Saturdays, bro. You can drive it up there on Friday night.
They are open on Saturdays, this one, but not in New Mexico, they're not. Please indicate any reason you have not returned to them for service. Location inconvenient. Well, yeah, they're a little far from me right now. Since you got to go, we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, cool. Let me know when it's done.